Hi, I'm Emily, and this is the Flint water crisis. What is the Flint water crisis? On April 25, 2014, city officials of Flint, Michigan, looking to save money, switched the main source of drinking water from Detroit's city system to the Flint River. Not only was this water highly corrosive, it was full of lead and other poisons that were released into thousands of homes. Why and how did this crisis begin? This crisis is all because the city and state officials failed to treat the water properly, breaking a federal law and exposing thousands of residents. Soon after the switch, residents began noticing the foul smell and dark color. When voicing concerns to officials, they called the concerns callous and dismissive. When government officials finally acknowledged a problem, only after much persuasion from the residents, they still assured residents that it was safe and drinkable. What policies affected this issue? In January of 2016, concerned pastors for social action filed a lawsuit to help address the contamination issues for the Flint community. It wasn't until later in 2016 that the federal court ordered Michigan state officials and the city of Flint to ensure that every Flint home has access to safe drinking water. Despite the ruling, the city and state did not comply. In 2017, they were forced into an agreement to try and fix the problem, with the city giving up $97 million to pay for this work. What else is revealed in this issue? Environmental racism. Environmental racism is believed to have played a large part in the water crisis. Environmental racism is when a group of people is put into an unfair disadvantage because of their race or socioeconomic status. Flint, Michigan is known to be a primarily poor city, which is one of the reasons why the city switched to a cheaper way of water supply in the first place. Poorer cities like Flint are places that tend to be disproportionately at a greater risk for environmental contamination and health risks. What are the impacts from this? Long-term health issues from exposure. Lead exposure is plaguing the residents of Flint, Michigan, not only right now, but potentially for the rest of their lives. This issue is known as the silent pediatric epidemic. Lead exposure affects children the most. Lead exposure lowers IQ levels, which creates environmental and behavioral issues for children in the future. These children are also more likely to be involved in crime or not be able to complete school because of the lead poisoning, potentially setting them up for failure from the beginning. And then here are some symptoms of lead poisoning. As you can see, these affect every part of your body. They're not just concentrated in one part, so these entirely affect a child that is being poisoned. So, a personal story from someone who's affected. In the documentary, Something in the Water, we saw Michigan natives named the McLeod and Lauren family that had lived in the crisis for many years. This family explained to the interviewer of their personal struggles with the water crisis. They first noticed the troubles when the water was coming out brown and their family dog had gone mad. Its water bowl was turning into a gelatinous liquid minutes after being filled. After this time, they then noticed an effect within their children as well. The kids' grades started to decline because they had been seriously sick from the water, as well as their moods and behavior affected. And then below you just have a picture of the McLeod family. How is the government responding to this issue? The initial response up to the Flint water crisis was denial. Lawmakers continuously denied that there was anything wrong with the pipes, and the water was fine to drink. This was 2 years' worth of denial. Fast forward to 2016, the EPA awarded $100 million to fund the drinking water infrastructure upgrades. At peak contamination, Flint water was found to be 19 times more corrosive than the Detroit water, and this was all according to Virginia Tech, who again was the main people who found out this problem in the first place. What happened to government officials lying about the water? On November 13, 2015, residents of the city filed a class action lawsuit claiming 14 state and city officials knowingly exposed residents to toxic water. On April 20th, 2016, Criminal charges are filed against these officials. And then December of that same year, 4 officials, 2 of which were Flint's former emergency managers and 2 water plant officials, were charged with felonies of false pretenses. Who is addressing this issue? Citizens or activists? The answer is both. Citizens of the Flint all worked together to file the class action lawsuit that we learned about, and this was all against the EPA. They demanded more than $220 million. Virginia Tech was also one of the main organizations addressing this issue. They were the ones who identified the original problem. Organizations responding to the crisis. Charles Stewart Mott Foundation. What is this foundation? This foundation was started by Charles Stewart Mott as his response to the concern for the welfare of Flint, Michigan. What originally started out as an outlet for charitable contributions turned into a platform for the foundation to expand to positive areas like education, civil society, and environment. What are they doing to help the Flint water crisis? They have awarded the city $100,000 to provide free water filters to the residents. They also contributed another $4 million to help reconnect the water to the old system. CrowdRise. CrowdRise is a nonprofit organization by the company GoFundMe that raises money for different causes in a creative and cohesive way, bringing these communities together to unite for the cause. And what are they doing to help Flint? This organization has partnered with rappers Big Sean and Sean Anderson on the Heal Flint Kids campaign. They raised $300,000 that went to the children, and initially through the campaign and music fundraiser called Pearl Jam. Final thoughts. While I do believe that there is a lot being done currently to help citizens of Flint, I feel that there needs to be more done to address the long-term health problems that are arisen from this issue. It discourages me knowing that there are so many children growing up in this community that have been exposed to poisoning at such a young age. And then finally, here is a very recent, this was actually just posted on the 24th, I believe, so yesterday, a video from Little Miss Flint about the crisis.
Time now for our series, Serene in 2019. As we just saw with Jamil, the mantra is make your message, and that's just what one young girl did for her hometown. And on Earth Day, y'all know this is Earth Day today, we are highlighting one of our favorite environmental activists. Little Miss Flint is her name. We first met her at the beginning of the Flint water crisis, now almost 5 years. It's been 5 years, y'all. Here's a look at the huge impact one 11-year-old is having.
My name is Maya Copeland. I'm 11 years old. I live in Flint, Michigan, and you can call me Little Miss Flint.
This bright and bubbly 6th grader from Flint, Michigan has a real thirst for environmental change.
I want to speak up and say, hey, the water's bad. Could someone please fix it? But they never did fix it. So I said, well, gotta listen to me because I'm a kid.
Taking matters into her own hands, Little Miss Flint did what I like to say and made her mess her message.
150,000 bottles!
Putting on weekly water distribution events for thousands of Flint residents with limited access to clean water after nearly 5 years since the start of the water crisis.
People are still using bottled water, and they're not drinking or using the water to do anything.
After Flint's water source was switched to the Flint River in 2014, nearly 100 people were critically ill, 12 losing their life after drinking the lead-contaminated water.
A lot of people think, oh, well, we don't see it on the news anymore, so the water crisis must be done there, or water must be better. Absolutely not.
I'm definitely not ever drinking the water, and I'm never going to let my son drink it again.
I just put it up in my mouth and just spit it out.
With nearly 100,000 followers, Mari receiving global attention, reminding the world that they too can make a difference. One person tweeting in support, "Love this. I teach STEM, and my students were in shock that the U.S. has places with poor water. So inspired by Little Miss Flint."
The impact she's having here within our organization and also in the city is just massive, and it's really amazing to just see an 11-year-old just doing so much.
She does good things for the community. I like to help her with it. Like, she gives water and she thinks about others and not just like herself.
As we celebrate Earth Day today, Mari reminds us that a clean earth is worth fighting for.
Alrighty, thank you guys for watching, and that's the end of my presentation.